Do you remember that one song from the Lego movie? From like, what was that, 5 years ago at this point? Or maybe it was the Lego movie too. This song gonna get stuck inside your head. Oh, this song's gonna get stuck inside your head. It's stuck in my head. That's the point of this. The stuck in your head song is stuck in my head. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another crochet video. This is one that I am uber duper excited for because I have been waiting for this pattern that I am using to be released for a really long time, and now I've had it for almost a month and a half, and I can finally make a project with it. So let's start with that. The pattern that I am using today is going to be the Revy the Dragon pattern by Snuggle Beans Crochet. As always, if you want the pattern, I will link it below. I got it from Etsy. I don't know if she has her own personal website. I think it's just Etsy. Nonetheless, this whole project came to be because my mom said that she wanted a crocheted Figment dragon, which I did make her. Here's the picture of it. But when I gave her that one, she's like, man, you know, I kind of want a bigger one. And I'm like, hey, look at this cool pattern that's not released yet. When it's released, I can make it for you. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And she doesn't know that the pattern was released a month and a half ago. So this is actually going to be a surprise for her. I don't know if I'm gonna get her reaction on camera or not. I don't know what that plan is. Editing me might know. Well, editing me will know. Consult with that one. Nonetheless, we are making Figment the Dragon today. I'm hoping I can get this guy done in 2, maybe 3 days. I went through the pattern and it is a lot of crocheting. I don't think I fully realized how big this guy is. I have gone ahead and written down all the parts I need to make on my little butter pad here, and there is 17 pieces for this guy that I need to make with the parts that I am taking from the pattern to make the dragon. Because there's multiple head options, there's multiple horn options, there's multiple like things you can add, things you don't have to add, stuff like that. But with that being said, I'm going to start with crocheting the head, which is first on this list, and then just work my way down. I only have the body yarn on me because I didn't think I would get past making the head and the body, possibly like the limbs today. So for the body, I'm using my tried and true Premier Parfait Chunky in the colorway Lilac, in case you were wondering. And I think that's all you need to know. So let's start making Figment the Dragon. Hello and good morning. So it is actually the next day, if you couldn't tell. Yesterday was the first day of me working on this Figment Dragon, and I did not get as far as I wanted to because my mom actually came home a lot earlier than I thought she was going to. Hence why we didn't talk last night, because I can't talk about this project when she's home. So, here we are. But obviously, next day, we are still working on this Figment Dragon. Let me show you what we made yesterday. Yesterday, we got the head completely done. I actually love these eyes so much. I love them. His body is done as well. And then I made his shoulders. To explain that better, his arms are actually done in like 2 parts each, and then they're sewn together. and these are like the upper arm. You know, does that make sense? You know what a shoulder is. I don't know why I was acting like you don't know what a shoulder is. I'm assuming you know what a shoulder is. But that is as far as I got yesterday. I really was hoping to crochet most, if not all, of the parts yesterday, and clearly that did not happen. So obviously we still have some crocheting to do. What I have left to make are the front legs, the back legs, the thighs, a belly patch, spiked horns, tail pieces, and the wings. I'm hoping that today I can finish crocheting all of those parts. That is my goal. And then we will sew him together tomorrow. Or we could do it today. It just really depends how long this takes me, you know? But I think that's all I really have to say. I love how he's turning out so far. He is definitely a little bit bigger than I thought he was going to be, but it's okay. I am very excited to continue on this guy and see how he comes out. So, without a further ado, I think it is time for us to jump back into the wonderful world of crocheting a dragon. I'm so excited. Okay, I officially have all the pieces that we need for our dragon friend here. Obviously, the last step that we have to do is sew this guy together. Where are my needles? They were in my other project bag. Sorry about that. As I was saying, we obviously have one final step left, which is sewing our entire dinosaur dragon man here together. He is a dragon. I don't know why I'm calling him dragon dinosaur man. But I thought while we start to sew this guy together, we could have a wee little bit of a chat. Obviously not the entire time I sew him together, because let's be real here, he's probably gonna take me like an hour to sew. But I have had some people ask me questions in the comments over the past couple of months, and I've yet to address them. So I thought this would be kind of like a fun mini Q&A type situation, except I didn't really ask you to send me questions. And I'm not gonna advertise this video as a Q&A. I am just simply going to, you know, go with the flow and see what happens here. Actually, aborting the whole Q&A thing for a second, I forgot to pull up the pattern for sewing this guy, and I don't really want to do it without the instructions because of how his arms are, so let me pull up the pattern really quickly. As I was saying, some people have been asking me questions in the comments relating to crochet and like things like that, so I thought that I would answer them. The one that I saw a couple months ago and was like, oh my gosh, this is a great thing to like answer, and just never did in anything that I ever did, is that somebody asked me what I do while I crochet, like how I you know, what do I do while I sit here crocheting for such long periods of time? I think the comment was specifically asking about like movie and TV show recommendations, but I actually recently, for the past couple of months, have not been in like a TV and movie mode, I guess. If it wasn't obvious from the absolutely ginormous bookshelf behind me, I am actually a really big reader. I am in fact such a big reader that when I am not crocheting or doing college or any of my other responsibilities that I have in this wonderful life, I am reading, and I have a whole channel dedicated to reading content. It brings me a lot of joy, and obviously I cannot read while I crochet. That is actually not a skill that I possess, but I do listen to audiobooks while crocheting, which is absolutely lovely. I use my Libby app for like 95% of the books that I listen to, but if I'm not using my Libby app, I get one a month from Spotify. Although I really hate how Spotify set up the audiobook system, so I tend to not use it. I honestly really just use Libby if I'm looking for an audiobook. So I do that. Another thing that I do is I actually stream me crocheting sometimes as well, especially if it's not a project that is so video based like this one, because this one I made completely, well with you guys. But if I'm not doing that, I will do a cute little crochet stream where we just sit and vibe, and I talk with my community as we all kind of do crafts together. It's like for me, it's like a one-way FaceTime call of crafting, but for the internet, it's like a two-way FaceTime call because most of the time they're working on projects as well. While streaming, I will listen to music, which is another thing that I do. Like, I do that so much, just sit and listen to music, that for my Spotify Wrapped this year, I think I had 132,000 minutes, and I don't believe that includes audiobook time, so that's just kind of insane. I don't think I've mentioned this on this platform before, or at least not like so openly, I guess, but I do a lot of content creation. Like me, myself, and I, just for me, I have 4 separate YouTube platforms that I'll have Instagram pages, TikTok pages, and all those lovely social medias. I also have a podcast with a couple of my online friends who live in the UK, and every single one of us has ADHD. So while we're filming our podcast, 2 of us will do a craft while the other one is playing a game. Or at least that's what it's been for the past couple of episodes that we filmed. Like literally just this morning, I was making Figment's wings while filming a podcast episode. I'm typically crocheting, my friend Lace is typically drawing, and then my friend Hootie will be playing a game. So that's where I get a lot of my crochet time from as well. I also just kind of fit it into everything else that I'm doing. Especially during this time of year, I have a lot of markets that I'm going to, so I will crochet at my markets. At a normal market, depending on what I'm working on, I get like 2 to 3 projects done if they're smaller. And while I'm at my markets, I don't really like listen to music or, have a show on or anything like that. So I just kind of sit there and interact with the other vendors around me while working on my projects. It's led to a lot of fun friendships between me and other vendors because they're like, wow, you're like really good. And I'm like, thank you, But outside of that, I do occasionally watch shows and movies, but they're mostly my comfort shows and movies. Like just this year, I rewatched One Day at a Time for like the 13th time. That was not intended to rhyme. I dropped my needle. Hello? That was my favorite needle. Hold on. Sorry, needle crest averted. Where was I? Oh yeah. As I've heard a whole lot of other crochet content creators say, when they are picking shows that they are watching while crocheting, they're usually shows that have a lot of seasons and are not super complex. I obviously mentioned One Day at a Time, but a couple of other really good examples are like Stranger Things, Bridgerton, The Office. I'm currently watching SWAT is a really good one. Like anything that has so many seasons and not like a butt ton of characters that you can like keep them straight enough while you're crocheting and doing something else. I also think that it helps that I have a lot of ADHD tendencies, so while I'm doing something, more often than not, I am also doing something else. I don't think there are many times in my life where I am not multitasking. Like I am just constantly doing at least 2 things at once. Those are all the ones I can think of off the top of my head. The other day I saw a really talented knitter who can actually read physical books while crocheting. That is not me. While I wish I could do that, I can't. I just have to stick to my audiobooks, but it's okay. Another question I get asked really frequently actually is how I learned how to crochet. I taught myself to crochet when I was 14 years old during the pandemic. And I say during the pandemic because that matters kind of timeline-wise, but for me, the pandemic wasn't anything crazy because I was already doing online school. Like this wasn't some freak thing I picked up because I couldn't go outside, I was genuinely just looking for something new crafting to do and stumbled upon crochet. That's also the time where my For You page was filled with people crocheting bumblebees and everything like that, which is actually one of the first things I crocheted was a bumblebee. And I was, 14, didn't have any money, and I'm like, oh, I could totally learn how to do that. And I did. I guess you could say the rest was history, and it kind of is, I started from there and slowly worked my way up to where I am today. As far as if I have any tips and tricks on how to learn how to crochet, I do have at the moment 1-part series out about like a crash course introduction to crochet. That episode goes over literally the basics of crochet. It doesn't even teach any stitches or anything. It's literally like, hey, you should probably know this before you start learning how to crochet. It's things I wish I knew before I jumped into how I learned how to crochet, because I did it in a really unconventional way. I quite literally grabbed a ball of yarn and a hook from my closet that I had from a birthday gift from years ago, sat down with one YouTube tutorial, how to crochet left-handed, learned a chain, that's how I learned tension, and then I made my own pattern. And no, I'm not kidding, that is actually how I taught myself how to crochet. I think learning to crochet that way is actually part of the reason why I freehand a lot of stuff, which is actually lovely, because then I can make pretty much anything, even if there's not a pattern for it. I just make my own pattern. I kind of love that I have that skill. It makes me very happy. But if I were just starting out crocheting and I was like, oh, what should I start with? Everybody, including myself, always starts with a massive project. It's okay. You think it's not going to take that long. You want to make a blanket. You want to make a sweater. And honestly, I say go for it. It truly is a canon event though, like a lot of crocheters say, because it's just going to hit you in the face how long it takes you to make like everything. Crochet is a very time-consuming craft, and I don't think a lot of people talk about that. Obviously, I love doing it, but it truly eats up so much time that, you know, you do question your sanity a little bit towards the end. But I will always say go for it with the big projects, because that's like the easiest way to learn tension and how things fit together and everything like that. Especially if you're going back and forth on rows, it helps you notice your stitches more as well. Next up, this question I got once one time in person at a market, but somebody asked me what I use to take my photos, like of my crochet products that I post on Instagram. And if you guys didn't know, everything that I make content-wise is filmed on my phone. If I am not mistaken, I have an iPhone 14, like just the basic one. And while I wish that I could afford like a fancy camera and setup and stuff like that, clearly I don't. I'm using my phone and a $20 plug-in mic that I got from Amazon. You know, it's nothing fancy. Going with that, in case you're curious, I use Adobe Premiere Pro to edit my long form YouTube videos. No one has ever asked me that question, but I figured while we're on the topic, that might be a good thing to answer as well. I will say though that it is a little bit confusing the first couple of times you use it, if you do plan on using it. There's a lot you have to learn in order to get really good at using Adobe, but once you go through what I did was a couple of YouTube tutorials on what I needed to learn, it definitely gets a lot easier. I don't really know of any other video editing softwares out there I would recommend, because obviously I don't use them. I am a tried and true Adobe Premiere person till the day that I die. And to get my files from my phone to my computer, I actually just use Google Drive. For those of you who don't know, Google Drive has like a 15 gigabyte like maximum storage thing, so I just sit there and slowly, you know, upload on my phone, download on my computer, and just sit there with my little software as it transfers from one thing to another. But those are all the big questions I can think of. I really don't get a ton of questions, but I still thought it would be kind of fun to, you know, bond for a second. And now the bonding time is done, I'm gonna figure out how these legs are sewn on there. So let's do a wonderful little time lapse for crocheting the rest of our Figment together. Here's where he's currently at. What a cutie. And hopefully I can surprise my mom with this when she gets home. Okay, let's go sew. An hour and a half of sewing later, here is our dragon. For my first time going through this pattern, I love him. I think he came out quite good. His sewing is a little bit like, I don't want to say crooked, but uneven in places, but this yarn is A, really hard to re-sew, and B, I don't have any of those like amigurumi sticks to like make it all super symmetrical, so the only thing that's like super noticeable is that the front part, like his belly part, is like one stitch too far to the left, or to the right, your left, my right. It's actually mirrored, so it's both our rights. But other than that, I love him. I love him. Like I said, for the first time of doing this pattern, I love how he came out. I think he is an absolutely precious little being, and I'm in love with him. Now, if you'll remember, I mentioned earlier that this is actually something that I made for my mom. She is not home right now. She's supposed to be home in about an hour. So when she gets home, I'm gonna see if I can film her reaction to him, because she has no idea I made him. And if she's not up for that, we will still reconvene in like an hour, hour and a half. It just depends on if she's good for me to put a camera in her face or not, you know? Let's go to that part, see what's happening, what's popping over there. Okay, are you ready? Open your eyes. I've been working on him secretly all week.
I thought he was supposed to have a yellow tone.
No, it's orange. I checked. His eyes are supposed to be yellow, but they didn't give me yellow. So. Yeah. Is he big and cuddly enough? I used a bigger hook than I normally would. Can I hug you? So as you just saw, my mom absolutely loves her Figment. She has actually already asked me for another one with mushrooms on it. No, I'm not kidding. I kind of already did most of my other outro things of, oh, it was this and this and this and, you know, such and such, because, you know, I showed you my dragon and we talked a little bit then. But as I stated, if you are looking for the pattern, it is going to be down in the description that I used. It was for Revy the Dragon. It came out super duper stinking cute. I love that dude. I can't really think of anything else notable to say. We made the dragon. I gave the dragon to the customer. Happy customer, you know? Absolutely lovely for me. If/when I do end up making that mushroom dragon, I think we might end up making that one together, because it's going to have more of the parts that I didn't include from the pattern in the dragon. Hi, do you want to say hello? Someone just burst into my bedroom. You know you're not supposed to be in here. I don't want you to eat my dragon. Want to say hi? He hates being held. He really does. Be gone with you, please. Thank you. Be in your butt with you. Anyways, as I was saying, if/when I make that mushroom dragon, we will probably make it together, because it's going to have more elements, and I'm thinking about adding like little mushrooms on top. We'll see. I have to talk to my mom about it first, but nonetheless, dragon be done. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today and making the dragon. I am hoping that this video is not like uber duper short, because most of the time we make at least like 3 projects together, and this time we made 1, but I think it'll be okay lengthwise. We'll see. Anyhow, I'm coming out with a cold. My vocal cords are shot and talking hurts, so I'm officially going to end this here and stop yapping. Thanks again for hanging out with me today, and I cannot wait to see you guys next Saturday for our next wonderful little crochet adventure. Bye!